You see on social media all these people just killing it and making it look easy. You give it up and then you go out there and try to be an entrepreneur. It is not easy. Whenever I'd get off the train, I would not watch TV. I would sit there on my iPad. I would study. I got my real estate license.
Yeah.
And I would just study. A lot of people like God. They bring up God, like just go back to the selection. I was like, man, all these people are turning to God now. I'm like, I'm hoping they're sticking with it and not just going to God through the tough times.
Yeah.
We need him all the time in our life.
Welcome to the Biz Life Podcast. I am Donnie Bedore, your host. We're here to talk about the business life, not the busy life. So thank y'all so much for joining this episode. This podcast is dedicated to the small business owner, entrepreneur, really just to find inspiration, tips, tricks, things to make their life easier. I always say that life is too short to make all the mistakes yourself, so learn from others. And anyway, I have a guest on here today. His name is Trenton Mooney. And welcome, Trenton.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. So we actually got connected by one of my good friends, Nick. He's been on the podcast several times. And he just reached out to me and said, man, I got a guy that has a story and I think would be really good for the podcast. So thanks for taking the time out. And
no, I appreciate y'all having me.
Yeah, absolutely. So tell us a little bit about yourself, right? Married, kids, where were you were born and you're growing up. A little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so I'm 43 years old.
Okay.
I was born in a town called Gatesville, Texas, in Central Texas by Waco and Temple area. And then met my wife I was down in Gatesville when I had met my wife. And then we moved to Granbury area in 2012. And we started just having life together and started having kids. We got two girls that are 9 and 7 years old now.
Oh, that's such a good age.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
They're good.
Yeah, very, very cool. And so did y'all meet like in high school or shortly after? Yeah, how'd y'all meet?
Well, I was right at the 30 point. I was 30 years old. And so I was kind of waiting until I was 30 to get married. But
that's okay. Yeah.
So, yeah, it was a God thing for sure.
Absolutely. What's her name?
Her name's Taylor Mooney.
All right.
Yeah.
Very, very cool. And two daughters, 7 and 9.
7.
What's their names?
Elena's the oldest and Ember is the youngest.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
Y'all done? You gonna have any more?
No, we're done.
Done. Yeah.
Yeah, we're done.
We got 3 and we're definitely done. Ours are older though. We're 25, 23 and 21. So we're on the other side of it. Anyway. And so what have you been doing in business? Let's start with what you're doing now and what did you do before that?
So what I do now, I'm a seniors real estate specialist.
Okay.
At Vibe Realty, where I've niched myself in the seniors market to where I'm really different than a lot of other realtors because of, I'm trying to market towards the seniors area.
Yeah.
But by doing that, I'm doing it because my wife, she's also occupational therapist assistant.
Oh,
and so having her as a team in that area kind of helps me with that area also. And so, and all of our network and friends and people that were around, they're all in the seniors market. So whether it's home care, hospice care. So we're always hearing other experiences of people that may be going through something. But that has been a very challenging area to market at the same time, but
sure.
Because you're out there and you're the only person and everybody's like, well, is this guy different?
Right.
You are, because, but for me, when I was thinking about doing that, is like, if the old people trust you, everybody else will. And I wanted to be trusted first before I just went wide open in my business.
Yeah.
And so
you're a realtor geared towards the seniors.
Yep.
Right. And I mean, all type of realty, finding them a home, finding them an apartment, whatever. Okay. And you're out in Granbury. I know the general population of Granbury probably is on the older side, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah. The majority is in the retirement communities.
Yeah. Okay.
Out there. So.
Yeah. And what made you want to do that? What led you into being a realtor?
Well, being a realtor, it was started back in 2006.
Okay. Tell me about that.
I bought my first house in Sweetwater, Texas.
Okay. I know where that's at.
I was in my home. It was just me by myself, single guy. I got this house, and I'm like, what the heck did I just do? I bought this house, and now I got to pay for it, And I didn't know really all that much about the financial part of it, like where did all my money go when I'm making this payment, property taxes, insurances, and interest.
Yeah.
And when I started adding that up, and I'm like, man, I'm paying the bank like $1,000 a month in interest. When I started asking myself those questions, and it just started snowballing from there. I went from that house and actually downsized half the house that I was in.
Okay.
And it ended up being a flip house. I walk in there and everything needs to be cleared out.
Mm-hmm. Now, did you do that in intention to buy it and flip it?
Bought it, flip. But I was looking for just a solid brick home.
Yeah.
And slab foundation.
Okay.
Good solid foundation. And this,
sure.
Went through, redid the floors, cabinets, and paint. And I ended up doing that twice before I moved to Granbury.
Okay.
So, yeah. And it worked out really well doing it that way, doing my own real estate transactions. And I still use a realtor, but I would get the experience from other realtors, and I actually bought a condo in Angel Fire, New Mexico one time. So,
oh, nice. Okay.
And ran an Airbnb, short-term rental property out there.
I gotcha.
And did really well with it.
Okay. So, you end up selling that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Right before COVID. It's one of those shoulda, coulda, woulda things, didn't know that we was going to double up on everything, so, but I wouldn't take it for where I'm at now. You look back and you go, I can regret where I'm at, or I can go, these properties that I have that I just sold them and liquidated them to where I was actually renting at the time. And a lot of times before, when I'd have a house that I was flipping, when it turned to go look for another flip property after selling this one, I'd actually rent.
Okay.
When a lot of people think that's a bad idea.
Right.
I would rent for a little while before I'd scout out my next property.
Okay.
And it would actually position me better, and that's kind of what I did at Angel Fire.
Yeah.
And
so whenever you were doing that in Angel Fire, then were you doing that remotely from here, or did you live there? Okay, so you're doing that remotely too.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I did it remotely.
Yeah.
While I was working full time.
Dang. Okay.
And worked full time and managed Airbnb at the same time. We're at a job where I was supposed to have my cell phone off. And I did. But when I turned my cell phone on, it was just game. It was just like I have all these text messages and responses I had to respond to.
Yeah. So. No, I definitely am, identify with that. I had a full-time job whenever I got into business. So I actually owned a business and worked full-time at the same time for a couple of years. And, finally got to the point where I left my full-time job. But, there was a lot of times I'm in the bathroom, taking a phone call, of my business at my job and stuff. So it's difficult whenever you're juggling that, right? And there may be some people, watching now or listening, because we're on Spotify and Apple as well too. So, they may be listening or watching now that they're in a job and they're trying to transition to this business, right? Do you remember back then whenever you were doing that, right? Tell me a little bit about the difficulties or the things that you remember from that time period.
Man, I've been trying to go back and go, how did I do all that stuff? I did so much at one time, and I was actually at a buddy of mine's house out in Amarillo about a month ago, and I was like, man, how did I do that? He goes, Trent, you never slept.
Never.
And I was like, literally, I just would take 4-hour naps and go get right back after it,
Yeah.
And I was a railroad engineer before I'm doing what I'm doing now, so I would, you didn't know when you was going to work. You would just get called, and then you just go to work.
Yeah.
And then.
So you were on call at the railroad?
Yeah, 365 days a year.
Oh, wow.
Zone call all the time. So I was working day and night. So I didn't get to pick when I was going.
Yeah, for sure.
But whenever I was on the other end of the road, that's where I did a lot of my work.
Okay.
So I would drive a train from Fort Worth to Amarillo twice a week. And so probably 10 years before. This was like 10 years in the making.
Okay.
So
yeah,
whenever I'd get off the train, I would not watch TV.
Mm.
I would sit there on my iPad. I would study. I got my real estate license.
Yeah.
And I would just study, read books, and
pouring into yourself.
Yeah. And I would work out, just stay active.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I'm the same way. I don't watch a whole lot of TV at all. Right. Mm-hmm. Constantly building, growing, we have several businesses in the family. And so, yeah, it takes up a lot of time. Mm-hmm. Right. So I'd like to talk, I don't know much about trains other than they're cool. Yeah. Right. And every kid thinks trains are cool. Mm-hmm. So you were actually driving the trains from Fort Worth to Amarillo.
Yes, sir.
Okay. That's pretty cool.
So I drove the intermodal high priority trains that went
I don't know what that means.
There. Yeah, like UPS trains.
Okay. Okay.
And they were stacked trains, the ones that have the stacks, the boxes stacked on the top of each other.
I gotcha. Okay.
So there was a hub up in Haslett. We'd get on the train there.
Okay.
And the truck drivers take their truck trailers there, and then they would load the trailers on the train. And then they would go to California.
Did you ever get in a wreck whenever you were, you ever hit anything?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
The same week I got married.
Oh, are you serious? A car, or what'd you hit?
Yeah. So we were coming back. We just come out of Bowie, and we was coming down this hill, and there was this kid standing in the middle of the track waving his hands like, stop, and
man.
You look past the kid and you see a white Cadillac is stuck on the crossing. And, you don't know what to experience when that happens or what to expect when that happens.
Yeah.
It was a white Cadillac, and it had beige interior.
Okay.
So the beige headrest looked like a person.
Mm.
So that's all you could think was that, you might have just took somebody's life.
Mm-hmm.
And when we hit it, the car just went like 50 feet off the side. It didn't stay in front of us. It went. It was in a curve, and it punched it off the track. And I went. That was what I was waiting for. Like who was back there,
right?
And in that case, we was able to get the train stopped when about a half a mile.
Okay, I was wondering if
after the crossing, so it wasn't that far back.
Okay,
and that lady was an old lady that had been driving at nighttime, and she didn't see the crossing. It was one of those wooden crossings, and she was a private crossing, and she went across it and just got her left front wheel was hanging, just hung it up.
Oh no!
She was going to go deliver some casseroles to that house. She was delivering casseroles, so there's casserole stuff scattered all over the back seat of that thing. It was nasty.
But yeah.
But thank God there was nobody hurt. I never experienced a fatality in 19 years.
Thank God.
I know.
Yeah.
So I don't have to carry that with me.
Yeah. Yeah. I was wondering, it's like, man, you don't think about that, right? I mean, you hear about, train wrecks, not all the time, but, you definitely can't stop the train.
Mm-mm.
I mean, and so, you just go and, whew, man, I'm glad no one was in that car.
Oh yeah.
I was waiting. I'm glad that's the way the story ended. So
yeah. And
well, good.
It still shook me up.
I can imagine.
The same week I got married, I was like, what the heck?
Yeah. So you stop and run back and find out no one's. Okay.
Yeah. My conductor did.
Good. Yeah. Good. Okay. So. Driving these type of trains, and I'm just curious, right? Yeah. It's really off subject, but on driving it, right? I don't even know what the inside one looks like, right?
Mm-hmm.
Are they still ran off of coal, or how do these run
off diesel?
Okay,
diesel generator
just a big diesel. Okay,
mm-hmm.
All right.
So that belly of that train has got a 5,000 gallon diesel tank underneath it.
Oh wow! Okay.
So they're running off diesel generators. They're running traction motors.
Yeah. So as far as driving it, though, I mean, it's really just computerized type stuff.
Yeah.
You just go and, I mean, you're just sitting there watching.
Yeah, for the most part. Yeah. Taking the art of being an engineer away from, what technology has.
Yeah. That's what I was wondering.
I was able to run trains when we didn't have cameras and computers. And so there's two different types of programs that are running the train.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they're almost self-ran for the most part.
Pretty
and
much.
you're just monitoring the systems.
Pretty much for the most part, up until you get ready to stop the train, then, you know, just kind of hands it back over to you and sit here.
Yeah.
You know, I've been running it for 200 miles, just stop it for this mile ahead.
Right.
So,
yeah. Okay. So you're doing the train, running the trains. You did that for how many years?
I was a train engineer, 17 of the 19 years.
Okay.
Before I was a track welder, so I actually welded the rail together.
Oh, okay.
Before, you know, so you know, starting at the bottom, working your way up, as far as you can go, and
that's cool.
And I actually had a desire to be a supervisor at a time when I was with the railroad, and I took their test. Yeah, you know, they wanted you to take a supervisor test to go apply for a supervisor job, and I did, and I passed it, and went and interviewed for a test. Okay. Or interview for the job. Yeah. And it was a phone interview, so nobody actually got to see me face to face. And I didn't end up getting the job, but the guy had called me back to give me some feedback. And he told me I didn't sound intelligent enough with my accent.
Oh, goodness.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm like, okay, I got you. You know, it'd be a good story to tell down the road, you know, to let somebody else know, like, hey, don't limit yourself to any kind of, you know, I love my accent, so not everybody has it. So
I was going to ask you, you know, did you grow up somewhere else that gave, you know, just here in Texas?
Yeah. I was born and raised in Gatesville. And
I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's great. Yeah. Perfect. So what was there a deciding factor for you to go from working, you know, for a corporation like the railroad to saying, you know what, I want to be my own boss?
Yeah.
Right. Was there a deciding factor that pushed you to that?
Yeah. I'd always felt like I wanted to be an entrepreneur. Okay. I always had the desire. And to be honest with you, Donnie, you know, you see on social media, all these people just killing it and making it look easy.
Right. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And then you give it up, and then you go out there and try to be an entrepreneur. It is not easy.
Yeah.
I would, you know, these people that are making it look easy, I don't know. Yeah, but it is.
Yeah, there's a lot of behind the scenes, I think, that we don't see, right? We see someone's lifestyle. We see someone's, of course, face, you know, like you said, social media or whatever. You're like, man, they must just be just raking it in, right? But yeah, what they don't see, like, you know, you sort of alluded to earlier, they don't see the late nights. They don't see the studying, the riding on a lawnmower, listening to, you know, business podcast or, you know, different things that can pour into you, right? All that grinding people don't see. And when they get out there, you know, they're like, oh, crud, this is a little bit harder than I thought. Yeah. So, and that's really what this whole podcast is really about, right? It's to help those people.
Yeah. So I'd be locked in on that train. And, you know, how big the cab is, you're like, you have no any kind of connection with the outside world for a 12-hour period. And so you're locked in this cab and you're like, how do I get out of here?
Wow. Okay.
You know, and it is a good paying job, but like, you know, I know there's more to this life than sitting here for another 20 years to drive this train. Yeah. And that's where I was like, man, I got to do something, you know. And I did have a desire. I had the desire a long time ago. Okay. Yeah, I was just planning, you know, from the moment I hired out to the moment I walked out the door, you know, or sent my resignation letter in.
Yeah. 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 And that's interesting that you had that vision early on, right? Where do you think that came from for you?
Man, I think it was just seeing people that did better in life and well in life. Yeah, yeah. And to be honest with you, like a bunch of the old railroader guys, there was the old heads, they called them. Okay. And they did really well back then. And some of them was really successful. And I would always ask the older people, you know, how did you do it? And I'd always have older people outside the railroad too. They kind of bounce stuff off of, like, hey, how are you doing it? Yeah. And, you know, I think the biggest thing was getting out of debt. Okay. And, you know, and that's probably where you can go back and say, I don't want to regret selling these real estate properties, but it helped me get out of debt.
Yeah.
To where I was able to do what I'm doing.
Yeah. That's definitely one thing about debt. It shackles you down, right?
Don't be a slave to the lender.
That's right. Yeah.
So, doing that, I would read the books on how to get out of debt.
Okay.
And, like that first house that I bought, I was like, how do I get out of this? And, you got your property taxes, insurance, and interest that you're paying on. You were like, well, what's a tax write-off? Used to be your taxes and interest, or tax write-off, tax deductible. But we had this thing I had this first thing on my house called PMI, private mortgage insurance.
Yeah.
And that most people, if they don't have 20% down, they have to buy this insurance every month, and it's not a write-off.
Yeah, true.
And I'm actually paying insurance for the bank's money. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
So and so started snowballing that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And so that put you on the path of getting out of debt, and then your first business that you had started, right? Was that the realtor or the flipping the houses thing, or was there something else?
So I actually just started up my LLC after, when I got my real estate license. I started up my LLC, but I was like, man, how do I get out there?
Okay.
And how do I get my name out there? Because nobody knows me in this town, even though I've lived here for...
Yeah, you're out on the railroad, right?
Yeah. I'm like out of town guy that nobody just comes in and sleeps.
Right, yeah.
And then, so I was like, man, how do I get my name out there? And so I just started, I actually started mowing yards on the side. And and I got a DBA, LLC, and then get a DBA underneath that. And, and I actually built my house in 2020 too. That kind of helped a little bit get my name out there with contractors and different people. So
yeah. All right. So really used one business to give you the foundation for the other business. It's pretty smart, right? I always say the one who markets the most wins, right? You can have a couple different people in the same market, right? If one is marketing themselves more, then generally they're going to win because they're going to get more connections, and people are going to know them more. They're going to trust them more, right? What were some things I think before the show you had alluded to one of them, but what was one of the things that really propelled just the marketing of yourself as you were mowing the lawns?
Okay, so I can just do the lawn mowing thing. Was whenever I was out mowing yards, there was people that would go, hey, you got gift cards or gift certificates we could raffle off at different events.
Yeah, okay.
And so that's kind of got my name out there to an event that, they got me in touch with your buddy Nick. And then it just just starts going, You just got to be creative. You're like, man, how can I get more connections? And that was a really good one.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
So, but I've always enjoyed getting out and mowing yards and working with my hands and getting out there and getting sun. And
sure, that's healthy. It's good for you.
It's good for you. So I do it. I do it one day a week, and then you don't want to forget where you came from. So
love it. Yep. So it's a good idea, especially this time of the year. Holidays are coming up. You need a quick little tip, man. Take it from Trenton. Get you some gift cards and go give them away.
Yeah.
Right. Give them away. And I think they'll come back to you for sure.
Yeah, they sure will, man. It's just, I feel like I'm trying to give all the time. I give everything that I have and every day.
Yeah.
So right now I'm a board of directors of the Hood County Senior Center.
Okay.
Which is, so like if somebody's out there trying to get their niche in the senior market, well, you got to start serving your people.
Oh.
So just I go do Meals on Wheels,
Okay.
And just serve at the senior center, and there's always activities and events and that kind of things you can sponsor.
Yeah.
So.
Yep. And I love that. I'm in a networking group, and our motto is givers gain, right? Whenever you put other people's needs first and you put others first, then, and you focus on that, then the relationships build, people see you, they trust you, and then the business will come, right? But it's just that whole mentality of, look, don't go through life just looking what you can take from people. Go through life and what you can give to people, right? And I think whenever you do that, it's like this podcast, right? We've been doing this for all year long. I started in January. I think I don't even know what episode this is. It's in the 40s, 45 or something like that. So we've done 45 episodes. And really, my heart in this is to have a business owner come on set with me and let me just put you on stage and highlight you and blast you out there. And you know what? If you get business from it, great.
Yeah.
Right. But I just want to help other people.
Ready to boost your business's impact? Fully Promoted Fort Worth is your one-stop destination for branding needs, specializing in branded apparel and promotional products. They help attract, retain, and engage customers. From custom uniforms to eye-catching items, Fully Promoted Fort Worth has you covered. Contact them today to unlock your brand's potential. 817-803-4404. Fully Promoted, your success, their passion.
This is marketing right here, just walking through the door.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. So I like that. That's your heartbeat as well too. Where do you think that comes from?
Man,
where's it come from you? Why do you want to give like that?
It is, it's who I am as a person. And I've asked myself the same question here recently, and it's just my heart, whenever I'm, James 4:17, he says, if we know the good we should do and we don't do it, it is a sin to us. So anytime I'm out doing something and I feel like it's laid on my heart that I got to do this,
okay,
there's no, no negotiations. They just got to do it.
So you quoted scripture from the Bible. So I would assume you're a Christian.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Tell me about that. When did you become a believer?
So I got baptized when I was 28 years old.
Okay.
Yeah. And didn't think much of it. After I got baptized, I tried out a couple of Bible studies and that kind of stuff. And to be honest with you, whenever I had my first girl, she was 6 months old, and I was holding her in the living room, and I was like, man, there's got to be more to life than this. And it was on a Wednesday of that week, and it was just something pulled at me. And I told my wife, I said, I'm going to go down here to church and I'm going to find somebody to talk to.
Okay.
And to be honest with you, one of my mentors still today, after nine years, we met this morning, Tuesday mornings.
Okay.
So
that's cool. What church?
Stonewater Church in Granbury. And my lead pastor had actually walked through the door. He's like, hey, what are you doing here?
Is it Jeremy or Joey?
Oh, it was Jeremy.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jeremy goes, Trent, what are you doing here? I was like, man, I need to talk to somebody.
Nice.
He goes, you want to talk to me? Said, yeah. So we went back there and we talked about three different sessions.
Okay.
And afterwards I said, Jeremy, I just need a mentor. And man, my mentor walked into that church 2 weeks later from California, and he's a retired pastor.
Okay.
He built the mega church out there. Yeah. I don't know. We call it a mega church, but it's a pristine, like Christian school, the whole deal. And God couldn't have put a better man in my life. And we do all the Bible studies that we do are Bible studies that he wrote. So he's a theology major and psychology at the same time.
I love it. Okay.
And so it's not surface level Bible studies. We're going pretty deep. And,
yeah. I love that.
And it's been a good experience. So that was another thing. I didn't know the Bible, even at 28, I knew nothing.
Right.
And then when I finally got a mentor and just started going through it, and I was like, oh, I got him. He's like, this Bible study, you got to do this before you come back. Before we meet again, you need to do it. Yeah. And you also need to memorize that verse. And so the word of God, we're studying it, but we're also knowing how to apply it in our life. So.
Yeah, I think it makes a lot of big difference in life whenever you know your purpose, right? And the reason I wanted to, this is, obviously the biz life, but really for me, the biz life is your life, right? One thing I've realized, in my life is that everybody's in business. everybody's in business. It doesn't matter if you're, again, pastor of a mega church in California and you're moving to Texas, or if you're a homeless guy. Everybody's in business because business is relationships, right? And it's like, if I don't trust you, you're probably not going to get any of my money, right? But if I do trust you and I do like you, then I'll do business with you, right? And really doing business with you is just doing life with you.
Yeah.
Right. It may be that we're on a podcast one day, right? And we're doing business together, right? It may be that you're, on a Tuesday morning with a mentor, y'all are doing business together. It's just life, really, is what it is. So I like that you shared your testimony. I actually go to Stonewater as well too, but I go to the one in Godly.
Okay.
Yeah. With Nick.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I think it makes a big difference on, knowing your purpose in life, and knowing now why you're doing what you're doing. Not just punching the clock, not just earning money so you can go out to eat on Friday and pay a mortgage and buy a car and dream of going on a vacation one day, right? You're doing something for a purpose, right? And I just, sense that with you is that you finally, your purpose now.
Right. And it's all day, every day.
Yeah.
And like a lot of people like God, they bring up God, like just go back to the selection. I was like, man, all these people are turning it to God now. I'm like, I'm hoping they're sticking with it and not just going to God through the tough times.
Yeah.
But we need him all the time in our life. And if you need to know that God is real, then I have a story about myself. I got baptized at 28 years old.
Yeah.
And then me and my wife we're together, and we moved to Granbury, and she's like, I think I want to get baptized today. I was like, okay. I was like, I thought she should have already been baptized,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
something hit me. I was just like driving home that day, and I was like, man, this feels like the same day I got baptized on. Yeah. I went home, and there happened to be this older couple that gave me a baptism book that says how you get baptized on August the 30th of 2009. I was 28 years old. And then my wife, 6 years later, August 30th, 2015.
Wow.
She was 28 years old too at the time. So it was kind of crazy how all that stuff lines up. And then our youngest daughter, Ember Faith, we had her name picked out for she's born and everything. She was born on the same day.
That's cool. Oh, on August 30th.
Yeah.
I'll be dang.
Yeah. So
That's cool.
God, we got to have God all the time.
Yeah.
No matter the good, bad, or the ugly.
True.
So I would just encourage anybody that, is just on the fence and having God, and just during the tough times, you just need him all the time. So
yeah, true. Yeah. And it's just like, I guess, it's just our nature, right? It's like whenever you're going through a rough time, you want to reach out to your parents, or you want to reach out to that mentor, right? When you're going through that rough time, and that's just our nature. When things are going good, it's like, hey, I don't need anything, right? And so we don't ask, so I definitely, don't blame people for doing what they do on that part. Cause sometimes I think I do the same thing. Right. But I do love that story. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. One thing, I was talking to a good friend of mine. He's from New Zealand. We went on a canoeing trip, up in Canada this summer, and he's actually canoeing from one side of Canada all the way to the other side.
Oh, dang.
Never canoed before in his life either. And, so I told him, I was like, yeah, I'll come up there and, canoe with you for a week. And, so one thing that we were talking about was, whenever you look back in your life, you can sort of see this common thread a lot of times. And it was really profound in his life, some of the stories he was telling me. And you just see this common thread of, I met this person, they led me to this person. Then I did this, and this led me to this, and you could sort of see that almost as if it was handcrafted for you.
Yeah, most definitely. I can even say that with my, quitting the railroad. At that time, there was a time for that.
Yeah.
And when I quit, it's like it just started lining up. And it lined up with certain people in my life that are great supporters of what I do, but also on the same team that I'm on at the same time. And I was like, man, would that ever happen if I wouldn't have done what I did at that time?
Yeah.
And I always go back. I'm like, how did I meet that person again? Oh, it was that other person and that person.
Yeah. And there's an old adage that they say, well, whenever one door closes, another one opens, right? But yeah, it's just that thing. You look back and you're like, wow, right? A couple of things, we're getting closer to the end, and a couple of things I like to ask is, number one, right? Whenever you started your business until now, as a business owner, what is the most difficult thing you've had to deal with as a business owner?
Emotions.
Okay.
I didn't realize that. Our emotions will do everything they can to kill, steal, and destroy, and it's crazy that that is probably one of the hardest things I've had to learn, and I have to learn it pretty regularly because I'm not gonna lie, I got a short temper on me.
Okay.
And I don't deal with much people's, and I just have to reel myself back in. I'm like, no, I'm not gonna do that.
Okay.
So just, yeah. So that actually happened the other day, and when it happens, it tries to happen a couple different times to see if you're really paying attention to that or not.
Yeah.
Because it's funny how that will start out, it'll start compounding in your life.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Big time. And then you don't want to take that home to your wife and kids. So, but I'll talk to my wife about it, say, hey, this happened today. And she's a great supporter. And
that's cool.
Yeah. Helping me navigate certain things. So
that's pretty cool. Yeah. No, it's great. Thank you for sharing. And okay. And then the other thing is, if you were to go back to yourself as you're starting the business, right? What's one piece of advice you would give to yourself so many years ago whenever you jumped off into this entrepreneur lifestyle?
Just keep going.
Okay.
It's not going to be easy, but just keep going because it will happen eventually.
Yeah.
And I'm even telling myself that right now, even though, say I haven't hit the spot where I'm supposed to be, but I don't want to stop.
Well, supposed to be is sort of relative, right? I mean, we say that, you're like, well, I'm not where I'm supposed to be. Yeah. Where is that?
Well,
you know what I'm saying? You may be exactly where you're supposed to be right now.
You're right.
I think we get this mindset of, I've arrived or I've reached this pinnacle whenever A, B, and C happens, right? Whenever I don't have to worry about money, whenever I don't have to worry about my schedule, right? When all these things happen and we think, okay, I've made it, right? But really, at least in my life, and I'm a few years older than you, I learn more, I think, from the valleys and the struggles that I've gone through, way more than I have on the good times, way more than I have. So therefore, I've learned to, you know what? I'm embracing this struggle. I'm going to lean into it. And here's what I know is that if I do lean into it, then I'm going to get, and like you had said, don't give up, right? If I keep fighting and keep going, a lot of times that's where I'll get the best ideas, and I'll come from an idea out of this hard time that will, again, lead me in a different direction than I ever thought of. And I'm thinking, shoot, if I didn't go through that hard time, I wouldn't have had that idea, and we wouldn't be where we're at today, And so I'm really thankful for the hard times.
Oh yeah.
Right. And so therefore should be, really it's like, I think you're exactly where you should be.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
The tough times, it's easy to get down and out.
Of course.
And
of course.
Something hit me one day. I was walking through my back, my house, and you just come in and maybe cussing a little bit. And God just said, hey, what you curse, I will not bless. So that is probably a good thing too. Like if somebody's in a negative mindset, God's not going to bless what you keep being negative towards, or what you keep cursing. And we often do that with just being men, period. We think we just got to throw stuff around, and that's not the case. And, and we don't have to holler at people, talk down to people, that are working for us. And it's difficult sometimes whenever we think that is the way to lead, and it's not. So, yeah.
All right. So closer to the end of the podcast now, like I'd mentioned, what's one thing that nobody knows about you that you're willing to share on the air?
Yeah.
Because this will go out to all 12,000 followers.
Okay. I'm always making sure I'm investing back in myself.
Okay.
And by saying that, then I do that with my marketing, but also self-development type stuff. And so I think that I never really understood like why somebody would pay a ton of money for self-improvement stuff. And so I've done that. Okay. I've been through a couple different programs, and one of them being Wake Up Warrior. Went out to California for a week and been following them since 2017.
Okay. And it's called Wake Up Warrior.
Wake Up Warrior, yeah. Okay. Yeah. So did a deal called Warrior Week it's like Navy SEAL training.
Oh, okay.
Got myself beat up pretty good. So.
Yeah. Well, that's cool. Yeah. And, some people don't see, they don't see that, right? Because they're watching whatever else, but really it's that's happening behind the scenes. So yeah, thanks for sharing that.
Yeah, I'm always making sure and Warrior, it focuses on taking care of your body, your spirituality, your wife and your kids and your business in that order.
Okay.
So that's what I wake up doing every day.
Yeah.
And try to keep those habits going, because you don't want to get to the finish line one day and go, what happened to my body? I'm on my third divorce. I don't even know who God is, and I'm broke. You don't want to.
Yeah.
We don't want to be there. So.
Yeah. No, cool. All right. And if someone was interested in your services, right, how would they reach out to you?
They could just call me, 254-216-3884, and hey, follow me on Facebook, social media platforms. I'm on all of them.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, cool. Anything else you want to leave? Any last words of wisdom?
The last words of wisdom I would tell somebody is, so the two things to live by is if you know the good you should do and you don't do it, is a sin to you. And do not let the anger don't let the sun set on your anger when you go to bed at night, because you can wake up the next morning and burn the world to the ground pretty much. And I've done it in my life, and now I know.
Yeah.
That it's in the 4th chapter of Ephesians somewhere. And he says, do not let the sun set on your anger. And there's a meaning behind that, but it's a lot deeper than what it looks like in the book. So
yeah,
the Bible.
Cool, man.
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
That's cool. All right. Well, I guess we're going to sign off here.
All right.
Thank
you, Donnie.
Hey, thank y'all a lot for watching and listening. Again, please like, share, subscribe, and we'll see you next time on the Biz Life.